So, how did you know? And the reason I ask this is because I, of course, talk to and work with founders all the time, and I'm working with one right now who I firmly believe needs a co-founder, or the company will not get to where it needs to be. Okay, for a multitude of reasons I don't need to get into here. However, how did you two know that what you thought about each other wasn't just the honeymoon stage?
I think there's one thing that, if I remember back, I don't know if that's still on their website, but on Heritage's website, one of their, we'll call it like core values,
Yeah.
it was alignment.
Hmm.
And I think very quickly, David and I, neither of us really comes from much. I had, a bazillion dollars in personally guaranteed student debt and
Yeah.
the debt
Right.
from
Yeah.
building and buying my first places. And
Yeah.
David had left his job. We had everything riding on this. Um, and I think we were very much aligned. We had a very clear vision. It became more clear over time. We had a very clear vision of what we wanted to do. This idea of changing the world, building an empire.
Mm-hmm.
This vision of like a million veggies all over the country, all over the world,
Hmm.
with an amazing experience happening inside. We both shared that, and we realized that's what we need to execute against. And if
Yeah.
we don't do that, it's just not. It's not success.
Hmm.
And so we had that alignment, I think, from the very beginning. And David knew like a business guy without
Mhm.
the business expertise, like it's like an engine without a car. It doesn't
Yeah,
go
right.
anywhere. Um, and so he understood what he needed in me. And for me, I know the hell out of veterinary emergency, what customers want, what patients need,
Mhm.
what our employees are looking for, what the world needs for emergency.
Mhm.
But in terms of building out a team, a headquarters, managing the finances, the investments, et cetera, in the company, I didn't know anything about. So we were aligned in so many ways. That I think
Yeah.
was the secret.
It's
Yeah,
funny. I think we
yeah.
actually had a page in our deck, Carol, that said that introed us. I'm fairly certain this was the page. It was called Shared Values, Complementary Skills.
Mhm.
And I'm fairly certain that was the title. And I think that's exactly what we
Yeah.
both saw was we have the same core values
Mhm.
and complementary skills to make this work. And oh, by the way, it's really just fun to do it with someone else. It's a very lonely job we have. And if you
Mhm.
can share that loneliness to someone else, it makes it more fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So would you say that the biggest problem you're solving is this open holistic approach to emergency medicine?
Not really.
Okay.
I think that what we discovered just works. It's funny if you ask people before they join Veg and you say, like, what's your biggest concern? They'll say the open hospital concept,
Mhm.
having customers around all the time. I'm terrified
Yep.
of that. And then if you ask everybody at Veg, they will say the thing that I like the most is the open hospital concept,
Yes.
having customers around all the time. I will never go back.
Mhm.
So we just discovered magic. I think the reason why is nobody had ever it's crazy
Right.
but
Very
nobody had ever
disruptive.
focused their lens.
Yep.
Nobody had ever focused their lens just on emergency.
Mhm.
We did that, and we said emergency can be plucked out of everything else and can be developed as its own thing, and that's what we did. So that's actually not our biggest
Okay.
problem. I think our biggest problems are the typical problems of growth that any growing, like rapidly scaling company encounters.
Mhm.
That's what we're encountering as well. We know what we are. We know what we want to be. We know all those things. We're just learning a lot about how to
Mhm.
build and run a company.
And
Mhm.
convincing our teams that the fluff, so to say, which we don't view as fluff, is the most important thing. Meaning that the culture of our business, no matter what we think about financials or how fast we build or how many people we can hire, that
Mhm.
what makes us differentiated is what actually makes us differentiated.
Mhm.
Carol, just pause there for a second and point out part of what makes this relationship great, and I think what makes our company is that you asked the question, and like the vet dude answered scaling the company and processes and whatever it is, like that's the challenge, and that's what we're committed to.
Mhm.
And the business guy answered culture, etc. We both own and care about the entire company,
Yeah.
every aspect of it,
Mhm.
and we may focus on our day to day on one thing, but we care a whole lot about the other.
Mhm. So you're privately held. Tell me a little bit about the investment that's been put into the organization from a venture capital standpoint.
So the two biggest individual holders remain David and myself, right?
Yep. Okay.
The we realize again, David and I don't come from money, so our options were to go one by one,
Mhm.
over the next decade, and maybe by now have 6 hospitals, or to change, sort of create the Vegolutions you talked about.
Mhm.
And so that required an innovative investor behind us who had a similar mindset. And so we met
Mhm.
Sequoia Heritage in 2017, and they provided us with capital for the first, call it 4 year, 3 or 4 years of our life.
Mhm.
And then, we have broad ambitions to hold on to Veg for a long, long, long time. And so that means we continue to need really smart people by our side. And so we've added some, there's a chance that maybe Veg goes public one day. Um, don't know when, but there's a chance. And I think that would be the natural path for us. And so we took on some pre-IPO investors like Fidelity, who, some of our people have 401ks with, D1 Capital and Durable Capital. And then we recently, did a round with Addition, which is led by Leaf Excel. And, I think that we have investors that, because they give us money, they're allowed to ask questions. But the
Mhm.
neat part is we tried to pick partners that understand um, what David and I and Veg are doing is
Mhm.
different and special. And we wanted to pick partners and investors that understood that and that understand the special part of that and don't and know that that's where the biggest value comes from.
Right.
Value doesn't come from numbers or how beautiful our buildings are. Value comes from the experience we're providing our veggies and our customers.
Mhm.
And I think our investors, I'm very confident our investors know that.
Mhm.
And I think that's what there's misconceptions about is that a really good investor understands that and
Mhm.
wants to, they'll push us, right? Just like we push our people. David and I have people that we work with every day. We push them and our investors push us. But they don't push us down the alley of like hurting our culture or
Mhm.
making stupid decisions for the short term. They push us on how do you create the world's veterinary emergency company, and they're gonna like keep their foot on the gas in order for us to do that too.
Mm. David, what was it about veterinary emergency medicine that had you, get your degree at Penn and go right out and start doing it?
I didn't know that I was going to be an emergency vet when I graduated. I thought that I was going to be a radiologist because I got A's in radiology and I got B's in emergency.
That's
I
great.
definitely didn't want to do dermatology. I got C's in dermatology.
Mm.
Um,
That's so funny.
but I think people have a very bad habit of letting school tell them what they can and can't do or should and shouldn't
Mhm.
do. There's very little correlation, as I'm proof of, that
Mhm.
your success in a particular subject in school equates to your success in that in life.
I would agree.
Um, so I thought I wanted to be a radiologist. That probably would have been the worst profession for me. I am not the type of person that likes to sit in the dark
Yep. Be
and not
alone.
have a ton of communication
Yep.
with pet owners. During my internship, I did a rotating internship at a specialty hospital after I graduated, and that's when I started seeing emergency cases.
Mm.
That's when I first started being a veterinarian, and I learned that the really most important thing is that when one patient walks in, two patients walk in. Every pet comes with a person, and that person in an emergency situation is just as sick as the pet. They are worried sick.
Mhm.
And they come in worried. If you screw it up, they come in worried and they leave mad.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of the rest of the world was doing with them. For me, I'm a people pleaser, and so I was focused on them coming in worried and me helping them. And that's where honestly where we got our mission. Our mission is helping people and their pets when they need it most. That's what I
Mhm.
derive my fulfillment from, is
Mhm.
from helping the people with their pet emergencies. I can save the pet, and that makes me feel great. But I work for thank yous, and the thank yous that I get when a pet owner turns to you and says, with tears in their eyes, like, "Doctor, my family and I can't thank you enough. You saved our baby's life." Like
Mhm.
that is all the reward for me. And I found most of that in its most concentrated form in emergency.
Carol Schultz here. Thanks for watching this excerpt from Authentically Successful. The conversation doesn't end there. So if you want to hear this episode in full and all my conversations with many other successful founders and CEOs, please visit verticalelevation.com/podcast.